Well, I had so much fun doing some commentary on the Star Trek the original series. I wanted to kind of expand into other Star Trek shows, and I wanted to ask other people to join me. So today I'm here visiting my nephew, and I told him he could choose an episode. He actually chose a two-parter. I really thought he'd choose a Deep Space Nine episode, but he went with The Next Generation, Time's Arrow Part 1 and Part 2. He'll kind of explain why he chose that he wanted to talk about these as we go on. So what we'll do is we're going to queue this up on the Roku through the fancy PlayStation 4 or 3 or whatever this is. I don't know.
Technology.
I have trouble with technology. So I'm going to have Christian hit the X button on the control thingy and we'll get started. Now this is, of course, a Star Trek The Next Generation cliffhanger. It's the end of Season 5 into Season 6. The Next Generation really kind of came into its own with the two-parter Best of Both Worlds. And it actually kind of started a bad habit for Star Trek writers. They would write the final episode of a season, they would leave a cliffhanger, but they wouldn't actually resolve the cliffhanger till they came back to start writing for the next season. And what you saw later in The Next Generation and in Voyager especially, is Part 2 didn't always live up to Part 1. And I kind of think this probably happens with this episode. But this is Time's Arrow. It's a time travel story. They've been called back to Earth where they find stuff that's been locked away in a cavern for, I guess, what at this point, 500 years?
Yeah, 500.
Which, that kind of strains credibility for me that on a planet like Earth that got so technologically advanced, nobody's like going into this cavern for a long time, but whatever. This is an interesting episode. The first part, I don't think the first part actually has time travel in it until the very end, right? But we'll kind of get to that. So, of course, you got Data here using technobabble to explain why stuff is temporally out of sync or something. So it's a 500-year-old mystery. Picard kind of looks constipated there for some reason. I don't know what's going on there. It's probably, I've been doing this for 5 seasons now. Actually, I think it's Picard's annoyed because he doesn't like Earth very much, and to have to come to home, he might actually have to see his family.
Yeah. Call him.
And here's, of course, the big reveal before the credits. Dun dun dun! It's Data's head.
Weather jacked up there.
Yeah. It'll become a plot point later, but somehow that thing works. I mean, Dr. Soon built that stuff to last.
500. Yeah. Wait, how? So ancient in the end.
So he'd be at least. I think he was. I have to look it up, but it seems like he was invented like 20 years before the series. Because they actually, during the first season, actually give a graduation day for Data from Starfleet Academy. Which, frankly, I think they messed up. Because it seems like they called him the class of 94 or something. Which would have been, frankly, about 60, 70 years before this series is set. So, if that's correct...
He's old.
Well, if that's correct, the Federation is very racist toward androids. I mean, you think about it, at this point, he's... in fact, during, I think, all of Star Trek, he only gets to the rank of Lieutenant Commander.
Yeah.
And even a little bit later on, Counselor Troy gets promoted to Commander because he took a Commander's test. Now, I think Data could pass this Commander's test, but whatever. So, you know, a little bit later on in what was a really odd episode, Data now has to call Counselor Troy, sir. So, I don't think... Maybe I'm misremembering the date of his graduation. I don't think he's quite that old. His head is ancient now. I mean, that's... You're looking at 550, 600, 530 years old or something. See, this is not, I guess this isn't the HD cut of the new HD cut, because that establishing shot of Earth, not that great. So.
Well, it's funny leaving an actor staring at their
Yeah. Oh, Mark Alamo is in this episode. He'll later go on to play Gold Dukat. In this episode, he plays a cowboy in the Ancient West, and yeah, that may be weird for some of you for me to say the Ancient West, but back in the original series, they called what we called the Old West the Ancient West, even though really 500 years really wouldn't constitute, I don't think, ancient.
Yeah.
But that's one bit of continuity they actually kind of stuck with. They mentioned the Ancient West again in the episode Fistful of Datas. Wonderful, another one of those holodeck gone awry stories.
Mm.
See, this is Data before his emotion trip, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, whatever, I'm
gonna die, it's fine, it's gonna happen.
He actually seems kind of happy about it, really, because, you know, he's like, woohoo, I have a lifespan!
I feel more human!
Yeah.
I gotta die tonight!
More technobabble. I wouldn't be surprised if Brandon Braga had his fingerprints over this script, because Brandon Braga really liked to go heavy on technobabble. Yeah. Anyone who knows me, I don't really hold Brandon Braga and Rick Berman in very high regard. I think that they kind of, well, frankly, they kind of ruined the franchise with Enterprise. Maybe eventually we'll do some Enterprise commentaries. There might be cursing in that.
And lots of rubbing.
And lots of what?
Rubbing.
Rubbing. Yeah, they went kind of for, I guess that was sex appeal? I don't know.
So, apparently they've been to this planet before because they identified the cellular creature from being there.
Yeah, so, yeah, obviously Starfleet Federation was aware of this planet.
With the video, too.
Yeah, but apparently they didn't find anything odd about it while they were there. You would think, I mean, my God, they found all these particles on this old stuff from Earth. You know, you think it'd be fresh on the planet whenever they went, but whatever.
And Geordi's trying to explain to him that you should be bothered that you know exactly when you're going to die. Or supposedly going to die.
Yeah. But, you know, we're not getting rid of Data yet.
No.
We're going to save that for the absolute worst Star Trek movie in the history of the franchise. And yes, I think Star Trek Nemesis is actually worse than Into Darkness.
Oh, wow. That's
the thing, yeah. I only rewatched Nemesis when I got the Next Generation movie collection. That's all. I hadn't watched it in, oh man, 10 years or something. And it was worse than I remember, if that was possible.
In a way, I am not that different from anyone else. I can now look forward to death.
Yeah. You can look forward to death. Yay, death! Woo!
End of suffering.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, by the way, folks. We're talking about death here.
Even I am mortal.
Yeah.
I specifically pointed at you two because no one else in the entire cantina moved.
Yeah.
Only for you, Data. Only for you.
Yeah, wait. Jordy's not a senior officer all of a sudden? Oh, did he say bridge officer?
He's a bridge officer, so Jordy gets a senior.
Well, heaven forbid, Jordy, you go to do your job in engineering or something, but whatever.
Now, you gotta have a talk with Guinan.
Yeah. Guinan's an interesting character. I mean, they added her, I guess in the third season they added her, maybe in the first episode. For some, she was actually kind of controversial, because they felt like they were using her as a background character who just dispensed wisdom, like fortune cookie wisdom. But frankly, I didn't think that was the case. She's an interesting character. She obviously had a history.
She's extremely old. That you can't
extremely old. She'll show up actually in different parts of the Star Trek universe. She'll be in the movie Generations. This actually will be really where Picard and her will meet. in the past, you know, time travel. But it's an interesting character, and actually, if you read The Eugenics Wars by Greg Cox, she shows up in. I know she shows up in the second volume. I don't know if she's in the first volume.
She also is on the Enterprise B at one point.
Yeah, that's a movie, Generations. Basically, it's her fault Kirk dies.
Well,
that these people like get rescued.
Yeah, all the remainder of her race get rescued.
Yes. Well, personally, they should have sent Captain Cameron or whatever his name was, because he was incompetent anyway. You could have, but I guess Captain Cameron or whatever his name was.
He left without full complement of crew or all of the systems.
But I guess the movie wouldn't be too exciting if Picard goes into the Nexus to find Captain Cameron or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm saying Cameron because he was that guy that's in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So I guess that would have been epic for Captain Picard to that guy to fight. But anyway, that's a different thing. Though it kind of has time travel, I guess, in a way.
It's just that our mental pathways have become accustomed.
This is supposed to be kind of sweet banter here, but it makes me kind of cringe. But that's because I don't have a heart.
Trying to explain to Data why.
Yeah.
Saying,
but I can't believe I have to call you sir at some point, counselor.
Counselor.
This is also interestingly before Chain of Command, which is a fantastic episode where there's a new commander on the ship for a while, and he actually makes Troy wear clothes.
Oh. Picard?
Would make Picard kind of a lecherous old man, if you think about it.
42 degrees, 7 minutes north.
Oh, he's talking about, okay. I think he was talking about temperature in like 40 to 43 degrees Celsius. That'd be kind of hot,
43
right?
degrees in the planet.
Yeah.
Atmosphere.
I got that after that. That'd be kind of hot.
They immediately find disturbance. Whoever got taken before them is horrible.
Well, if you've noticed throughout any of the Star Trek series, like, there's only like a couple of competent people. They're either all on the Enterprise or they're later on Deep Space Nine. And of course, they sent all the incompetent people on Voyager to the Delta Quadrant later. I like to take shots at Voyager.
Alright, the one time Worf shows up, like the first time Worf shows up, it's the back of his hair.
Yeah.
So you don't even know if it's actually Worf.
And it very well might not be. It could be his stand-in.
Yeah, because he's barely. I don't think he's not in these two parties very much.
Now, this is the end of the 5th season. And this is the first time that they mentioned that it's standard procedure for the second officer to go on a away team. Now, personally, this hasn't always been the case, right? I mean, half the time he doesn't go.
Yeah, right. Yeah, lazy bum. Just go.
Yeah, so Data, that's just kind of an arbitrary thing to say to build tension, And frankly, it'd be kind of understandable that you wouldn't want to send Data, or really Worf for that matter, because, well, one, if you think about it, that somehow Data gets transported back to the past. And, Deep Space Nine later, they talk about the temporal prime directive. Yeah. You really want to chance sending something that does not look human? I mean, I guess you could say he's an albino, but frankly, he looks fake, right? I mean...
Yeah. He's very sparkly, glittery, and
Also, isn't it kind of stupid to send Worf? I mean, are you going to really try to go into a case where, I mean, they finally figured out later that Data's head remains for 500 years, but anybody else who would actually be there with him
you could also
be so very dead.
Just accidentally tripped into a temporal disturbance. Bam, Worf's in the 1800s.
Yeah.
So many.
You don't want that.
He would have punched someone, knocked out the first person he saw.
I mean, it's bad enough Gold Ducat's in the past for some reason. Star Trek liked to reuse actors a lot.
Gold Ducat was not just Gold Ducat, it was Gold,
was it Evac?
Evac, I think it was Evac. It was...
and then we have a shot down on Deanna's cleavage because, science fiction.
And her sensing
Yes.
people.
I don't know how you feel about Troy, but
Clothes.
personally, I feel like she's just a horrible counselor. And I don't necessarily think that's Marina Sirtis's fault. As I think they had that trouble in the last season of Deep Space Nine with Esri. I just don't think anyone knows how to write realistic dialogue for a counselor.
For emotions and like emotions.
Well, that plus a counselor too. That's just a character they can't seem to get right.
It indicates some chronic distortion in the areas emanating violent waves.
That explains a few things. How much?
Data, why did you need to turn around and speak to them?
FaceTime, man. FaceTime on the thing.
Well, whatever or whoever is there, we're out of phase with it. We're only talking by a fraction of a second.
A fraction of a second would make them invisible.
Millisecond, a year, it would make.
Yeah, it's
What we're reading is true.
the one problem with Star Trek time travel stories to me. I don't know how you feel about the time travel stories. For me, they're very hit or miss. But I guess my biggest problem is
If we were to create a contained
I think when you do time travel in a franchise, and time travel is a very interesting thing, and a lot of people want to do it, of course. But I think that you have to have a firm set of rules.
Yeah.
And the problem with Star Trek and time travel is, I think they've used pretty much every type of time travel paradox and time travel way to do it,
And they skipped over to the finding yourself dead one by using data.
yeah, which makes this a predestination paradox.
Yes.
See, frankly, you could avoid all this by not going to this planet.
But
But then again, of
they have
course,
to explore.
yeah. But basically, the best thing they could have done was stay home. But then again, you can't really pad 2 hours of episode out.
What is that Geordi's holding?
That I think that was the machine they were going to try to use to. That was to make data phase into the. Remember, it's off .04 whatever.
Why does it have two handles?
Why is it so big? Nothing in Star Trek has been that big.
No.
At least not in the Next Generation. And we got the disappearing out. He got under his invisibility cloak.
Threw the green screen over him.
Yep. I suppose that was green screen, wasn't it? I'm glad they used the metric system, though. Original series is hit or miss on the metric system. I mean, I would hope in the future we're all using the metric system. Let's face it, the feet and yards and whatchamajiggers are arbitrary measurements that are dumb. It's easier to base things on 10 than, well,
Yeah.
12.
Here's we gotta get the FaceTime of everyone when we're listening to data rant because they can't respond.
Yeah. And frankly, this is kind of plot important babble because they have to use this information to, hopefully you've watched this before you've listened to this commentary, so
So you don't.
there's spoilers of everything. Yeah. Which there really wouldn't be because you're on a other planet that appears to be dead. That's not inhabited by humans.
Well, it was because Troy
Oh
felt
yeah.
human, felt human souls or minds.
Oh, see, it's those gray aliens that everybody gets like.
Davidians.
Yeah. See, they must be the ones that come bother us now, because like everybody talks about the gray aliens that come and abduct you.
Well, no, these just straight up kill you. I mean,
Yeah.
They would take you.
It's nice of him to Data to leave behind his whatchamajiggy so they can follow him later.
We've lost him.
And then you got Picard's angry face.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so there is time travel here. Okay.
There you go.
I couldn't quite remember if it was all in the second episode. So here,
We have a horse who does not want to
Yeah.
be here, clearly.
yeah, this is San Francisco in the 1800s. I can't remember quite the year if it was before or after the gold rush.
It's after 73.
Oh, it's after
It's at least after
73.
73 because they had the Colt from 73.
Okay, so yeah, so this is well after the California Gold Rush. Oh, I did like that. They actually, if you did you notice that as they went by, there was a Chinese person.
Ah, yeah. They
And
just have Planet of
so
the White People.
yeah, so this was not Planet of the Right People, White People like Justice. We just watched on sfdegree.com. He does commentaries. And he did a thing on Justice. It's worth checking out. He does some good things. He's probably done Times Arrow too. Oh, they got cholera going on, but I guess it's not really cholera, huh? So we got a beggar here. But I really was happy to see kind of I didn't notice that before, but that Chinaman, a Chinese person. I was about to say Chinaman. That's I don't think appropriate.
No. And they do have a 49er here.
Yeah, they do have a 49er. But there were a lot of Chinese immigration into the West Coast at this time. If it's around 73, that's actually the time they actually really tried to stop Asian migration into the country. That was one of our times of nativism, something we go through about once every 20 years or so when we decide what ethnic group is bad. You got Donald Trump doing some stuff now, you know. That should date this commentary for you.
Thank you for your advice, Mother. I'm trying to find two individuals with.
I believe the 49er is cholera.
Yes.
I was trying to get with the conversation.
Yeah. Cholera or TB. I think TB was pretty prevalent.
Well, the newspaper had cholera.
Yeah. Though I guess as we find out, though, the cholera is kind of a cover for whatever these aliens are doing. Yeah.
Could you help out a 49er?
Begging up and down the street.
And, you know, you saw that in major cities in the 1800s.
Yep.
That's true.
This guy.
They just kind of shoehorn him in.
Yeah.
And, I mean, really, I guess none of this makes that much sense, but to throw in, you know, spoiler alert, it's Jack London for some reason. Who, frankly, I haven't read his books because I don't really have a desire to. Have you had to read Call of the Wild?
No, I have not read Call of the Wild.
That might come up in high school for you at some point.
He thinks he's wearing pajama because no one else has noticed that he's not wearing.
Yeah. That's insulting to the French.
Yeah, and the data says he's a French guy.
Yeah.
$6 a day for $4 a week.
I believe a bit is 20 cents.
But I am capable of performing
Yeah.
tasks, both mental and physical.
So I don't think it's a quarter.
No.
Would offer me a job.
Jeez, I don't know. We're pretty happy with the maid we've got. Cook's decent. Dishwasher drunk all day, but at least he gets here on time. And
Well, that's important, I guess.
So, lady luck not with you tonight, Mr. Lane.
I believe he was wearing a purple tie, was he not?
5 weeks.
Poker.
Yeah.
Oh,
He has poker and he perks it. Now here,
This is another problem. You got a Native American at the table, which is fine. You got mutton chops. I kind of think mutton chops were out of favor by this point, but that's okay.
Go to places.
Whoa, the language. And there's old Gold Ducat right there.
yep,
Uh-huh.
he's actually
Excuse me,
a semi-important character in this.
Yeah.
I would like to join the game.
Okay.
And
Racist.
The way.
I'm a Frenchman. Mais Perron sont originaires.
What do they call it? Very
Okay.
good at playing.
So,
À la New Orleans. Alors,
okay, so his parents were French, but he has absolutely no trace of a French accent at all.
Did he try?
Yeah, he tried, yeah.
Du det höll jag på.
game is poker. Deal is yours. The ante is
And
4 bits.
if you watch this and then watch DS9, it's kind of hard to notice that's Gold Ducat because of the
Family.
hair.
Yes.
The way the beard is. It's not a full beard,
Yes.
but there's enough there to cover his facial features.
Carbon 70. Gold.
Should have just labeled gold data.
Yeah, you go.
I am giving you $3 for it.
Which actually is a fair bit, then.
Yeah, it's probably worth more than it is at that point. So I guess this scene always kind of bothered me in this episode. Because he basically, not that he cheated.
No.
Because, you know, he kind of does what he has to do, though he's got his pimp hat on and his pimp vest for some reason.
He took the Native American's hat. Feather.
But, you know, boy, I'll tell you what, they just did not... Like, those guys were basically professional card sharks. So they should really kind of be able to figure out when they actually... when they're actually played.
Yeah.
So, frankly, that shouldn't... I mean, I know they just needed to move the story along, and they had to figure out a way for Data to have money, and that was the best way to go. But
he just put the vest on over the Starfleet uniform that totally hides it.
Like I said, well, when he's got the hat with the feather in it, he's like the 1800s pimp daddy right there. He's a
And then here's the Data doesn't know what a tip is.
Yes.
And so the guy's asking for a tip, and Data's like,
yeah.
You should monitor that cause.
Yeah, this is another thing they're trying to kind of play for comedic effect, of course. Well, see, he understands the concept.
Yeah, but he's...
Yeah.
It is just questionable. How much money did he take from those guys?
Well, I mean, he started with $3. So.
He started with $3. But he got to the point where he started taking stuff they were wearing. The vest and the hat.
Yeah, so...
Probably took all the money they had on.
So, you know, he must have won at least $20, you know?
Well, no, he won more than 20.
Oh, yeah.
Because he handed him one, and you'll see later he hands him a stack.
Oh, yeah.
He just...
This stuff's gonna take a while. I'll have to go clear across town.
Here we go.
It's not gonna be cheap.
Yeah.
Oh, you need more money? Here's a roll.
Man, who would have thought Jack London was such a money, greedy? Shame on you, Jack.
Well, he's working as a bellboy.
Yeah. Which I was meant to check. I don't know if Jack London actually ever worked as a bellhop. Maybe he did. I don't know.
I can check.
Yes, we got the other computer
here's the 49er again.
Yeah.
And he's sort of...
He's just kind of out of
it. Because...
Honestly, they did a pretty good job with this portrayal. It's not done for comedic effect or anything like that.
He's saying, help me.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Hey, guys.
Yes.
The Jack London who wrote Call of the Wild actually wasn't even born until 1876.
This is past 1876.
No, it's 1864, isn't it?
No, it is not.
No, it's sometime past 1873 because they had an 1873 Colt in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, here...
though, it's in the 1800s, so that wouldn't be Jack London then.
Yeah, it is. He was born in 1876.
Okay, 1876, so... Yeah. Okay, 1893 London. Really?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was 1893. That's a lot later than I thought.
But in the scene that just happened, the Davidians killed the 49er.
Yes.
And made it look like cholera had killed him.
Yeah. That's. I mean, it was a good cover because cholera epidemics and other epidemics.
And he actually had cholera. That's evident when he first talks to Dave. He has cholera.
Yeah.
Some kind of guerrilla war. Let's assume that is.
I like how Worf assumes everything's in the past.
He's like, fighting. We must destroy them.
But in this case, he's correct.
Yeah.
You know, of course, that's his job, right?
Yeah.
You know, you don't expect Worf to actually.
Let's talk this out, guys.
Yeah,
that's
that's not his
with
job.
Cisco. They're gonna shoot at us. Shoot first.
Cisco's a lot like Worf in that, right? He doesn't really put up with a lot.
Wikipedia says it's in 1893.
Yeah. It was really strange though. I thought it was like you. I thought it was set much earlier than that.
The cult. And then
Christian. Christian figure. At the cult. Very good for details.
Riker immediately says, "Data's smarter than us. We're
Yeah.
dumb."
Wait. But why wouldn't finding Data be a major part of that mission? Like, you can't do two things? I mean, that's just stupid.
Here's what we may die. Let's do this.
Yeah. And it's Worf that comes down. Worf is usually not the smartest guy in the room, but he's like, yeah, there wouldn't be anything left of us.
Yeah, we would have been dead long.
Yeah.
And then here's Diane and her powder drink.
Yep. You know, gotta be reminded she's a bartender. She's not a chemist. She's a bartender.
Yeah. She's not at all suspicious with that array of drinks, all their different colors, and look like chemistry bottles.
Yeah, she's not making an explosive. It's okay.
And he's talking about how this looks like an exochemist's final.
Tarsic aperitif.
The trick is to change the evaporation point.
Hey, okay, maybe this is more chemistry than bartending.
Goes to vapor to be practically below the body temperature of the customer.
Yeah, that just sounds way too complicated. Just give me a beer.
Yeah, just hand me that synthol.
Do you have some root beer?
Want some synthol?
Molecules off, the vapor point crashes, it's all gone.
Why would you want to bother with that?
Because it probably tastes really good.
Ah, maybe.
I hear you're sending the away team down to the surface.
More powder.
Are you going?
Well, now this is rather unusual. You used to be curious about the away mission.
Kirk did his own away missions.
Yeah. A couple hundred years back, so nothing's changed.
Yeah.
When the story calls it.
Captains don't usually accompany
Don't usually. Well, Kirk was special.
Yeah, this is called the Kirk world. He was doing things down that planet he should have been doing.
Many things.
You just
This is another one of the things of you're the cause of your own.
Yeah, this is a
reason of going.
it's a predestination paradox.
Of course.
don't be so sure. I just mean, if you don't go on this mission,
That wasn't a bad effect there.
you'll never be.
You know, sometimes the effects in The Next Generation were just absolutely fantastic. Other times, not so good. That was actually a pretty good one. So we got like Data inventing stuff. Like to me, it's very reminiscent of the original series, City on the Edge of Forever, where
Yeah.
Spock has to.
Change his TV to find someone.
Yeah, he has to build something to read the tricorder, which.
And
Really?
then Jack, I love what Jack has to do here, which is lug a solid iron anvil,
Yes.
and then Data just picks up with ease, and then has to joke breaking his arm
Yeah.
because
I believe I have overexerted myself.
Say,
and then
is
Data.
it working?
Yes.
Whatever it is,
This is for your trouble.
Just hands him some more. He's pulling cash out of that.
See, this
pocket.
is the problem with the Federation future. Nobody understands the importance of money.
The iron mass in the anvil will provide that.
well, what's it gonna be when it's finished?
What do you think it is gonna be?
I would have guessed. Maybe a new kind of motor for one of those horseless kids.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
Let's go for the car.
That is a good guess.
Damn. You really think there's money in those things?
Nah, cars will never take off.
Isn't that what makes
Oh.
America great?
Nothing to replace the horse and buggy.
The town in pajamas, the grub truck at a poker table, turns it into a horseless carriage, and makes $1 million. That's America.
Yes.
I have given you an erroneous impression.
America.
Hey, my ship's gonna come in.
You have a ship.
See, here's Data not understanding
Yeah.
metaphors.
I mean, this is the end of season 5 Data. Data understands metaphors by this point, you know?
I've been a newsie.
Well, it's an 1800 metaphor.
Oh, yeah.
You've had a considerable spectrum of occupations.
Yeah, well, you can't stay in one place too long. I'm always looking you know?
I believe
That's
he-
bad. That's not true.
Thank you. I think that's what his book's about.
Not staying in one place too long?
Oh, his mini occupation.
Oh,
I think,
yeah.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I've never read Jack London.
Oh, he
I
says
probably
something about it
should.
later. Mark Twain says he should write a
Yeah.
book about it.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Mark Twain's in this episode.
Keep it in mind, though. I better get back.
Hey, you have a job, mate? You should do it.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna get fired from the
Bellboy.
hotel if you keep this up. You know, you're not his personal valet.
Instead of pull out, give him some more cash for handing him.
Yeah, Jack London is. I do not like him. He's not likable.
He doesn't care about the food, he cares about the juice.
This does. Oh, look who it is! It's Guinan.
Oh.
What?
Oh, mind
That's
blown.
crazy! Ah!
Mind blown. Data's mind's blown.
Oh man, here's Samuel Clemens. And this is actually kind of interesting. Like, and I do remember now that SF Debris did do Time's Arrow, and one of the things he talked about was why does Samuel Clemens sound this way? What he wondered what it was based on. What it's actually based on is the most famous person to do Mark Twain is actually an actor named Hal Holbrook.
Yeah.
And that's just how he played him. And basically, everyone else who has played Mark Twain has parodied Hal Holbrook's performance.
Yeah.
So he can kind of come off as a little whiny, I think. We really don't know what he sounded like. We do know that he was actually a friend of Nikola Tesla, who was quite frankly probably a better inventor than the guy that invented the light bulb, Thomas Edison.
Yeah.
And apparently Tesla, who could send electricity through the air, kind of like a Wi-Fi thing. He actually killed an elephant once like that. Don't kill elephants. Well, don't kill elephants.
Yeah, don't kill elephants, period.
Yeah. But he actually figured out how to actually transfer power without using power lines. But that's not the point here. Basically Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens was pretty much kind of like his press agent for a while.
And he's just kind of rambling on here about how the world is ancient and
yes,
the importance of it.
Yes, I know. But
and how it doesn't meet people.
Just to finish the Tesla thing. Tesla actually recorded his voice. Twain apparently hated the way he sounded, and he had the recording destroyed. So there's no real record of what he sounds like.
There's a Chinese person off to the very left, just off the screen to the
and
left.
There's an African American back there too. That's not Guinan, so that's good. Huh. This is back when they were trying.
And she's going on about how there's other planets when she in fact knows there is.
Yes.
Because she is not from Earth.
Yes.
Kind of just messing with Twain. There's a...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, just behind him. Dang it. She didn't. He's talking about what the Federation is.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Also, Guinan, when she got rescued in Generations, that was not the first time she encountered the Federation, because she's been to Earth hundreds of years in the past.
And it's we don't know how long, of course, she stayed on Earth,
and we don't know how old she is.
Well, and obviously the Grey Cock's Eugenics Wars books are not canon.
Yeah.
But she was on the planet in the 1960s and 70s.
So she's ancient.
Actually, she was on the planet when the channel was open, the underground tunnel between France and England. So.
And here's Data just walking in.
Yes.
Because he knows Guinan.
Guinan has discovered many personal friends since the newspaper announcement, but if your name is not on the guest list, it is urgent that I speak to you.
Data doesn't care.
Unless you leave this house immediately, I will send the police.
He's probably one-hand them all.
I will wait for that.
Yes.
I love that line.
That is actually good writing. I enjoyed that.
I will wait for the police in there.
Yeah. Whoa, I'm not sure that might be racist how that guy there was dressed.
I don't know. One guy was wearing a turban earlier. Strange name, seeing as I don't think that word's been invented yet necessarily.
No, I don't think.
Like, or used in the same term.
Perhaps the earliest use of data may have been the 20s? 1920s?
The Enterprise, I think, was at one point a clipper ship. The name.
Yes, I believe it was. Started out as a British name for sure, so.
And Guinan covering for Data here,
yes,
not knowing at all who he is.
Well, it is kind of in poor taste for Data should be very much aware of the temporal prime directive.
Data doesn't care.
She shouldn't be talking about starships in front of him.
That's why, because she knows he's not.
Circumstances demand that I take you into my confidence. I require your assistance. I am from the 24th century, where you and I serve aboard a starship. And our ship.
She's not even phased by that part.
Yeah.
19th century Earth. I investigated.
Now she's worried.
Their temporal vortex. When I saw your photograph in the newspaper, I assumed you had joined me from the future.
That really.
From the Enterprise.
He shouldn't have assumed that.
Your species was long-lived, but I didn't
After all, there's really nothing that would have, the way he goes in the past, there's really no way for her to get snatched back into the past, too. So that's kind of faulty logic.
I like this line.
Eavesdropping is by no means a proper activity for the gentleman. Nonetheless,
Not much of a gentleman.
The deed is done. Saying, "Oh, I heard you.
We're just fooling.
Deal with it.
It's okay, we're just fooling.
We're joking."
Captain's log, stardate 459.
Oh, point 3 now.
Yes.
An away team is beamed to the surface with a device which may enable them to phase shift into the alien world.
Got a bigger one.
That thing's got bigger.
That's wobbling back and forth. Is that safe?
That's not very. You didn't build that very well, Jordy.
These things, the thing that Troy is holding here.
That's the transport enhancement.
They're basically enhancers. They use them for like everything that requires enhancers.
Yes.
They've been used as shields
Yes.
for the Sword of Kalos episode.
Yeah, that's true.
They've been used as transport inhibitors and enhancers.
Mm-hmm.
So when you need a generic thing that needs
They
to be on
just
the ground,
pull those things out. Yeah, you're right.
And they come in pairs.
And that's something they did in the original series quite a lot anyway.
But they probably just, could just be modular changed to these. Georgie's like, why is he here?
Yeah. Now, here's the thing that's weird about this. Like, they're going to send Worf, right?
Yeah.
And they'd already talked about in an earlier scene. They're relatively, they knew that it was quite a good possibility that Data had gone back in time. So why in the world would you send a Klingon back in time?
Especially who, I know for a fact he's a knife attached to his back.
Yeah,
so
well,
he can stab the first.
Well, the way he looks, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
you can't really hide those ridges.
I mean, maybe Data, like, Geordi's not someone I've seen really either. He's got the visor going on. That looks futuristic. Yeah, I mean, he takes it off, puts on some sunglasses, but I guess you can make the case it's important for Jory to go because of engineering and whatnot. But, Barclay. You can send Barclay.
Oh, Barclay's having issues. You mean next episode? He's
having
issues.
Yeah.
Suggesting synchronic distortion.
Barclay's one of the characters like O'Brien where they just put to screw with him.
Yeah. Well, no, O'Brien would be gone by this point. So
nope.
Yeah.
No, next episode.
Okay, so O'Brien, you could obtain O'Brien. O'Brien knows how to fix crap. He's good.
O'Brien's the transporter chief.
Yeah, and then he goes on to be in charge of a whole space station. Yeah. So he knows what he's doing.
And he's the highest rank he can possibly be without
being a commissioned officer. Yeah. Which that's all kind of screwy anyway, but that's a different series.
Yeah, so scream so they can hear.
Yeah, that reminds me of when I was in Russia and we stopped at McDonald's for breakfast, and they don't really serve breakfast. They had Big Macs, and so I hadn't had much sleep, just gotten off the train that morning, and of course, they didn't speak English. I don't speak Russian, so obviously the best way for me to get my point across, like this talking louder thing here, was to basically shout and raise my voice and say, "I would like a Big Mac and fries." Because, people understand things when you talk louder. So.
Yeah. And here's where Troy realizes that nothing is actually alive there.
Would have been great if you had figured that out earlier, Troy.
Yeah. You need to see it, to sense it.
I guess.
And here we got
the thing returning with the souls or whatever they're collecting.
The life, the
life force.
The
catcher?
Neural energy. It's neural energy.
Is it metachlorines?
No, it's neural
energy. Metachlorines?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Wrong franchise.
They're delivering more of them for the others to ingest.
Yeah, okay, so you got two people doing this. Why is everyone sitting around doing nothing?
Yeah, they're just waiting for their stuff to...
They're waiting for food.
Why is it a snake? I mean, is there a transference thing? Is it alive, or...?
Yeah, it's alive. It's an entity.
Huh.
They're holding. It's a living creature.
It's strange.
That can break holes in the fire.
Yeah.
And Picard and me, like, let's walk up to this, all of us.
Let's just go through here.
Let's just go, guys. Let's not tell anyone we're going through this. Yeah. Let's not warn Worf. Just walk right in.
Yep.
And thanks to Vidians for holding it open long enough for the last person to go.
Absolutely, yeah. And of course, that's the end of that episode.
Time Arrow Part 1.
We, of course, back in the day, before Nephew here was born, we had to wait like months for the show to show back. This was at the early day of the internet. And one of the things that people did was they put out lists. And there was actually a top 10 list of ways to... actually fix what would happen in the second part, and so there's a top 10 list. One was Scotty goes back in time to set up a poll to whether people preferred thin Scotty or fat Scotty.
Old Scotty and young Scotty.
Yeah, another one was I think it was Data sets up a fake company under the name Tim S. Arrow. But that's what the internet was back in my day. Yeah. That and dial-up, where you tried to download pictures of fully clothed women because yay, that was as good as it got back then. But that's the first episode. How do you rate the first part of Time's Arrow?
I liked it, but there's just things that are like strange.
Yeah, and like I said,
and time travel. So,
yeah,
issues.
And time travel has some issues, and there's way more issues in the second part. Because, like I was talking about, because it was so successful with the Best of Both Worlds, they kind of got lazy where they're like, well, we'll just write this awesome first part, and it'll come to us how we're going to figure it out.
We'll do the second part when we come back.
And when we come back, we'll have the second part.